What's up, guys? It's been a minute. It's good to be filming again. So, kind of bought a thing. So you can kind of see in the background that maybe a different house if you watch these videos, because I just bought a house. So I've been pretty busy with that. And with that, I sold my old boat and bought a new boat. So before I show you this new boat, just a little backstory. So we were renting before in a house that was an HOA, and we had issues with them not liking the jet skis. So part of my reasoning to move to buy a house was to get away from that. And literally within a week of moving into this new house, we already had some crazy Karen call the code enforcement for the city and complain about the boat sticking out on the driveway. So this is what I just built. Knocked down this old fence and put a new fence with hinges on it, since it was a stationary fence, and laid down 3,000 pounds of gravel here. Had to move all these wood chips out of the way. It was a lot of work, but I think it came out pretty nice. So without further ado, here is my new boat. It is a Sea Pro 175, 17.5 feet. It's a fishing ski. I think it's the original trailer that it came with. So really the main reason I bought this boat was for the motor. It comes with the Yamaha 115 4-stroke. I believe it's a 2002. But let me hop in the boat here. So you can already see here, so not happy about this. So when I bought the boat from the guy, he didn't really give me much info on the boat. I was kind of having to ask just a billion questions and couldn't get much out of him. And I even sat on this bench seat. So this bench seat goes here, and it felt sturdy. And then when I trailered it home, I come to find this bench seat in the middle of the boat. So that's something I gotta address. It looks like there may have been like a storage hatch here because there is like drill holes, but I may just try to do something with this so it looks a little cleaner. But it's definitely a nice boat. I got it for a pretty decent price. It does need some work though. I mean, it's been sitting out, for 2 weeks. Didn't cover it. It's got a radio here. I already started doing a little bit of work here. It seemed like the radio speakers weren't working, but the radio would turn on. It's got 2 speakers on each side here. It's got an electric panel here, but some of them work, some of them don't, so I'll probably replace that. And it's got this nice bow area here too with a lot of storage. But yeah, it's got a swim ladder right here, a kicker bracket, and since it's a fishing ski model, there's actually hookups for a little tripod ski post on it, so I may look into getting one of those. So the first thing I want to start working on is servicing this motor. So when I bought the boat from the guy said he actually hadn't taken it out on the water. He bought it about 6 months ago from a friend of a friend and just never got around to working on the boat. When I went to his house to pick it up, he did fire it up and it ran, but I'm guessing it needs, a full tune-up before taking it out to the water. Okay, I'm gonna finally start working on this boat. I got less than 4 days before a camping trip, so I wanna get this done. Kind of the first thing I'm gonna do is replace this fuel water separator and replace this primer bulb. That's no good. It doesn't prime anymore. I'm just gonna take off this whole assembly here. It looks like there's just 2 nuts on each side that I'm gonna take off. So I think dumping this will be a good gauge of how old this fuel is. Like I said, the guy that I bought this from wouldn't really tell me much about the boat, and even the pink slips weren't in his name. It was still in his friend's name, and it was signed like November, December of last year, so it's July now, so it's been about 6 or 7 months. So hopefully he put new fuel in since then, but let's just see how. Oh yeah, that fuel actually looks the right color, so I think that fuel is still fresh. So luckily the fuel hasn't been sitting too long. And actually, there's really not too many particles in there. It's mostly on the outside of this rim here. So I think the fuel inside the fuel tank is actually pretty good. So we'll keep that. So here's the underside, which is really gross. And you can just see how much corrosion is built up. So I'm gonna clean this off. Right here you can see the old primer bulb and fuel lines, and you can just see how brittle this is, and it has like no suction to it, so this really had to be replaced. I'm not really seeing too much of the plastic liners melted. Maybe they were already melted, or maybe they're still intact, but yeah. So if you look down in here, you can see that hooked up all black fuel lines, new primer bulb, and clean this guy up a bit. So I'm gonna put a new filter on. I put the date on it, and I'm gonna put some fuel in here just so it doesn't take so long to prime up. There is a filter back here, and that fuel looks pretty brown, so I bought a replacement filter, so I'm gonna change that right now. Looks like it's a 1/2-inch nut on here that you can just take off. Here's just the replacement one for a comparison. I'm gonna fill this up with some fresh fuel just so, again, it doesn't take as long to prime the motor. So there's already fuel in here. So while I have the cowling off, this little P nozzle right here that pees water out the motor, you can see it's all brittle and cracked, and I could probably even push it up if I wanted to. So I'm gonna replace that. Here's just the comparison between the two. So yeah, I'm gonna hook this new one up and hopefully it gets a better P stream. I think just chipping away at all the corrosion built up in there with the pick seemed to work a lot. So now it's not getting stuck going up and down. Just gonna use a little bit of compressed air just to clean out all the little bits. Since this boat was clearly ran in salt water, just seeing how much corrosion is in the boat and on some of these parts, I'm gonna check the thermostat. So there's just 2 bolts holding this cover on here that I've removed, and I've seen some videos too of people checking the thermostat. I believe it's under here, and so sometimes with corrosion that thermostat can get too much corrosion and be kind of locked in place and not working right, and then your motor may overheat. So I'm gonna check that right now. So here's the thermostat, and actually this one might be okay. I'm gonna try prying it up and see how it looks. Try this thermostat test that I've heard of. So my thermostat doesn't look all that bad, but I've heard if you put hot water on it that the thermostat should open, and then when you add cold water it should close. So I got some hot water here that I just boiled up. So let's do this little test and see if this seems to work. Oh yeah, you can see that the thermostat is starting to open. It was definitely closed and pressed against that gasket there. So let me clean off the lens here. But yeah, it's definitely working the way it's supposed to. So I just dumped the hot water and it's still in the open position, so I'm gonna slowly add some colder water to it. And yep, you start seeing that to compress. Now you can see it pressed against that rubber gasket now. So there's a lot of corrosion built up in here, so I'm just going to take a little bit of sandpaper here and try to clean up that corrosion to keep this thermostat from sticking and potentially not working. So check out all this old adhesive stuff. I believe there was a panel here, and this is just the leftover adhesive on it, and I just hit it with a heat gun, and check this out. With this scraper, it's pretty satisfying. You can just get like big portion of it off if you just slowly use the scraper and get all that old adhesive off. Yeah, look at all that. So I removed all the adhesive, and I'm using some of this Goo Gone to get some of the sticky stuff that's left behind. Seems to be doing the trick. All right, I'm gonna change the oil on my motor here. So here I have about 5 quarts of Yamaha lube in the oil filter, and it says that my motor here requires 4.8 quarts, so it should be enough. And to do that, there is an oil drain bolt here. It's a 14 millimeter, so I'm gonna take that out and drain the oil now. Yo, check out this old oil. It's as black as this pan here. I mean, the guy said he serviced it, but clearly not the oil. And it also helps to let the air out by taking out the dipstick, just to get any air that's built up in there, to get the little bit of oil that gets left. But now I'm gonna take off this filter and put a new one on, and here's the new filter. Looks like there's already a bit of grease on the ring here, but I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil on that ring just so it comes off easier next time. Even though this oil is super black, a good thing about it is that it's not milky, meaning water is getting into our oil. So we know that our drain bolt seals are good and there's no water getting into this motor. Okay, I got a funnel hooked up to where the oil goes, and I inspected the oil cap and the seal still looks good. So So I'm going to start with this gallon first, since it takes 4.8 quarts, and then probably fill it about 4.5 gallons, and then check the level and see how it looks. Pour it slow, since there may be air bubbles that get in there, could cause it to back up. So I added 1 gallon, and I'm just going to check on the dipstick how our level looks. So I don't know if you guys can see, but it's about right there. So it's about halfway. It could go all the way up to here. So I'm gonna add a little bit more and see where our level is. But there's also no oil in this filter yet since I just put it on. So after firing it up, the oil level is gonna go down just a little bit as well. So I just topped the oil off, and I think it's time we fire this motor up and see what happens. So I got the earmuffs hooked up down here. I know Yamaha has a water hookup right here, but I've been told not to use this since I guess the water doesn't get all the way down to the impeller, and you can actually fry your impeller housing. So I got the earmuffs hooked up, and since I replaced a bunch of filters, I made sure to prime that primer bulb to get gas through to those filters and the water fuel separator and on the engine. So yeah, let's go fire this up and see what happens. All right, moment of truth. I haven't fired up since I bought it. Hopefully she starts right up. Don't know what hot means. Let's see if she's pumping water, and there should be water out of here. Yeah, that's a good water stream. So the impeller on this might be good. Make sure that hot light didn't come back on. Cool. Just make sure it goes in gear. Okay, it's going into gear. All right, I just shut her off. Let's see if she starts back up. Uh-oh. Okay, it wouldn't start there. I think I may have not had the battery connections tight, so I just tightened those. Let's try it again here. There we go. It's been running for about 5 minutes. I'm just gonna inspect for any gas leaks or water leaks, but I'm not really seeing much. Impeller's still pumping good water. It's not making any knocking or rattling. Good running motor here. So I think she's running good. I turned her on and off 5 times and she kept firing back up. So I'm thinking when the motor shut off, it was because the battery terminals had too much corrosion. So I got a wire brush here. I'm just gonna clean those off. Yeah, you can probably see there's a lot of corrosion built up on this, so that could have been the culprit. All right, I'm gonna change my lower unit fluid here. I checked it was a little bit milky, so that means water was probably getting in it. Just getting the right size flathead here to do this. I've definitely dealt with a lot of chipped ones before, but I definitely get the right size flathead here. You can see those little streaks of brown, so it was a little milky, but it was milky because this bottom drain screw didn't even have a gasket on it. So I'm gonna put a gasket on this and refill it right now. I got this hooked up to the lower unit, and luckily this cheap Walmart one is rated to fit Yamaha. So I'm just gonna pump it until it comes out the top drain hole here. For my 115 Yamaha, it was pretty much the whole bottle, and finally it started coming out the top. So now I'm going to put the top drain screw on and put the bottom one on after. I'm gonna be replacing the spark plugs. So right here we got 5 screws holding this black plastic cover on, and behind that are the spark plugs. And this is a 4-cylinder, so there's 4 spark plugs in there. So if you look down in here, you can see what type of spark plugs you need and the gap that it needs. So we got the spark plugs here, a 4-pack and a feeler gauge pieces in there. So on the side here, it looks like it shows the orientation these spark plugs are supposed to go, but it looks pretty easy. It looks like it's labeled here 1, 2, 3, 4 from top to bottom. Yeah, so check out this old one from the first cylinder that I took out. You can already see there was like some sludge built up on it, so some scoring on there, so it's definitely time to change these out. Okay, I got all 4 spark plugs installed and got them gapped, and these are the old ones. I mean, there was a lot of stuff on those, so these were probably in there for a long time. So I wasn't recording, but I started messing with the radio, and the radio works. It's just super dim, but I couldn't get any music to play on the radio or with my aux cord. So I started taking off speakers here, and they were super corroded, and it was just put together with some electrical tape here. But I did replace with this orange connector here, and then replaced one of these connections. So now I got one speaker working. So if I turn up the volume here, see it's working now. And then when you check out this other one, I took this one off. It wasn't even connected, so I think if I reconnect these and do the connections, we might have 2 good working speakers. Yeah, look at those connectors. No wonder this didn't work. So I'm gonna clean this up and try to get this running. So I dumped out this bottle that was empty and I put vinegar in it. You can probably see the vinegar already going to work, bubbling, getting that acid, breaking all that shit down. Yeah, look what that vinegar did. It pretty much made them turn straight copper now and really clean it up just after 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm gonna try hooking this up and see if it works. All right, got both of them working. Just very corroded wires. Okay, so I was having some trailer issues with the wiring a couple weeks ago when I was trailering a U-Haul. I noticed that the left turn light for the trailer wasn't working. It's been kind of messed up on this truck for a while, and it turned out it was actually a really easy fix. So if you come down here to the fuse box, one of these fuses was broken, so I replaced it. You can kind of see in there that linkage in there is broken, and it worked. But when I hooked up my boat just now, ironically, the left trailer light was also out, even though I just checked the fuse and it was still good. But these systems are really finicky, so you can see that one's out. That one is working. So I have the emergencies on right now, and when I was messing around with the ground wire back here, you can see that there's just a lot of rust and corrosion built up, and this was firmly on there, but I took the nut off. But it needs, since this is a ground wire, it needs to be firmly pressed onto there. So now you can see if it was firmly pressed on and I cleaned up that rust a bit, it would be working. So I take my hand off, now it's not. So I need to clean up this connection and yeah, put that nut back on and it should be working right. All right, got them hooked up now. It seems to be working right. One other thing I saw too is when you have trailer lights is you always have usually like a ground wire coming from here. The white wire is grounded to the trailer here, but I don't know what kind of setup this guy did. He just has a bolt that's not even screwed down, so I could kind of guess when we're underway driving that this thing's gonna rattle and potentially lose connection, so I'm gonna tighten that down as well. So I'm gonna put half a can of seafoam in this, since I really have no idea the last time this has ran on the water. So this should hopefully clean up the fuel injector. So I just greased the steering column back here, since when I'm turning the steering wheel, it's a little bit stiff, but you can see that there's just all this old grease deposit. So hopefully this new grease gives us better steering. Yeah, with that grease, the steering, before I couldn't do it with one hand. Now it's so much smoother. Put it with my off hand here. But yeah, before I couldn't do it with one hand, but I think that grease fixed it. What's up, guys? We're at the lake doing the maiden voyage with our friends Kevin and Sophia here and Basti. So we're gonna see how this boat runs. The throttle is a little sticky when I just backed it off the trailer, but yeah, hopefully it hits full throttle and we can send it on the lake and see how it runs. About to hit the 5 mile an hour zone, and then I'm gonna give it full throttle. Hopefully it doesn't stall out, but So far the motor's running good, peeing good water. Let's see what happens.
Everybody hold on.
You guys hats secured?
Yep.
All right,
Hat
secure your hat.
Fasty secured?
Fasty secured.
Fasty's good to go.
Alright. Let's see what you got. Boat's running good. Got it docked up here at the beach. Olympic diver.
Yeah, there you go.
Better.
That was a proper dive.
Nice day out at Rollins Lake here. Boat's been running good.
I think it's the run.
Where'd she go, Bestie?
Oh, sorry, Beth. I do that.
So I realized I haven't really given a rundown of the boat after all these changes. I kind of forgot to record a lot of stuff. But yeah, here's the boat. Just washed it, got it all cleaned up. So I put a sounder on here. And it's stored outside, so it's kind of hard to keep it clean, but I mean, the gel coat's pretty clean on it already. I didn't even buff it out or anything. But going inside the boat, I redid the seat gray. It was black, and yeah, it was just too hot at the lake, so hopefully with this light gray, it'll hold up and be a lot cooler in the sun. I had to put a new fuel gauge in there. That one was broken. I tried to redo the wiring on some of the gauges, so I got most of those working now. Put the Garmin Striker 4 in there. And yeah, now there's still some stuff I want to do to the boat. Just cleaning up like some of the scuff marks and drill holes and stuff. What's up, guys? We're out here at Bullard's Bar. This is my first time here. It's super nice out. It's so flat. Beautiful lake, really big lake. But yeah, we're doing some boat-in camping, and we're gonna do some fishing, but we're just gonna test the boat out a little more and see how it runs at wide open throttle on this wide open lake here. So this is a compilation video of all the maintenance and work that I've done to my boat. This is my third boat now, and if you're getting a good deal on a boat, usually it's been sitting or neglected. So just wanted to show the viewers out there what it takes to get a boat up and running. I mean, they call it a boat, break out another 1,000 for a reason, because they're expensive. So hopefully this helps some people that are looking to buy a used boat. But behind me here, this is Finn running away with his stick. He's our new golden retriever puppy. He's only 9 weeks old. Hopefully he likes the boat and he'll be a good boat dog and swimming soon enough. So stay tuned for Finn and some more episodes.